While natural gas companies in the U.S. are struggling to operate in a sub-$3 natural gas market, opportunity for natural gas exploration overseas is taking off. A natural gas play that many investors may not have heard about is the Po Valley in Italy. The Po Valley is Europe's second largest natural gas province. Italy imports nearly 85% of its natural gas needs, and BRS Resources seems to have found a play with resources in the ground and a domestic market for consumption. My next guest is Steve Moore, President and CEO of BRS Resources. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Quinn.
Now, since we last spoke in August, what's new with your company? I know you had some exciting news with the new reserve report you announced.
Well, we're very active right now in Italy, where there's a lot of things going on, a lot of exciting things. We did have a reserve report done on our assets in Italy, or a small portion of our assets in Italy, and they gave us some pretty good reserve numbers, proven reserves. It's about 33 cents a share for the reserves that they've given us for proven reserves in the Po Valley, so that's real exciting. We've moved ahead with a lot of projects in Italy. Particularly, we're about to drill our first well, which is real exciting. We've actually gotten the drilling permit. The rig is moving on location, so there's a lot of good things going on.
Speaking about your first well, what criteria will you use to measure success on that well?
Well, that well is actually in a partially depleted field, so that's where we got our proven reserves. So it's really classified as a developmental well, and that well is the third-party engineers have given us reserves of about to the 100% of about 10 billion cubic feet of gas, which would be a nice well. So when we test it, we're looking for those kind of reserves, and I think that would be the benchmark. It's kind of an unusual well for what we're going to do in Italy because this is a development well. Most of the wells we are going to be doing is a little bit more exploration that have bigger potential. So this one's, it's just make sure we get to the bottom of the hole and we do have the reserves there. So.
Now, challenging economic conditions throughout much of Europe have posed questions for many investors. How are you folks dealing with this?
Well, you know, I think it's a great time to be in Europe. For one thing, natural gas prices in Italy today are about $12 in MCF. We're here in the States, it's about $2.75 or under $3, so there's a huge difference in the pricing. And that's because the people in Europe, they tied their price to the crude oil, and they have a ratio to that, which we don't have in the States anymore. So that's great, and actually it's a good time to be in Italy. You wouldn't think so, but very few people are willing to put capital into Italy right now. But we're willing to because we're getting a hard asset back in return. That's the natural gas, which we'll sell in Italy. So it's kind of win-win for both the country and for us. So it's actually a good time, and there's just a lot of opportunity to do some things there.
And you recently completed a private placement in which you raised $6 million. Talk to us about that.
Well, we went out to the market, and we found an investor group, Carlson Capital. They're about a $6 billion hedge fund in Dallas, and they liked the project and they wanted to be involved, so they did the whole private placement. And they're great partners to have. They're looking at this more of a long-term deal, not just a quick in-and-out kind of deal. And so we do have 3 institutional partners that are with us in Italy, and they're both looking at this as a very substantial long-term play. And so that's great to have those kind of partners with us.
Now, you're one of the few public companies with a strict operational focus on Italy's natural gas resources. What upside does your company provide investors looking for exposure to international gas plays?
Well, as I said, the pricing is one thing in Italy, but we have about 800,000 acres in Italy. That makes us one of the largest acreage holders in Italy, and particularly onshore Italy. All our acreage is onshore Italy. And so we think there's so much potential for finding gas that's been left over from, now they have been producing gas since the 1950s in the Po Valley, which is the northern part of Italy, but they've never used high-tech technologies like 3D seismic, some of the latest completion technologies, and we're going there with a very technologically focused approach to things. We're doing 3D seismic shoots. We're bringing in some very top-notch technical people to do that. And when you have 800,000 acres, you have a lot of room to run. And we think we have so many drillable locations for the next number of years that we're going to be very, very busy. So if you're a shareholder now, the chances of us growing are pretty good that you can grow with us.
Well, Steve, it sounds like the Po Valley could be a game changer for BRS Resources.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we're finding through our 3D seismic that there's so many geological anomalies that the prior operator that came through and just used 2D seismic missed. And just because of the technology, we're kind of the first ones to go back in there with this new technology. So we're uncovering some really, really interesting geological structures that definitely look drillable.
Okay. Well, exciting times ahead for you folks. Good luck to you for the rest of 2012.
Thanks for having me today.
Okay. I'm Quinn Nguyen for oilandgas360.com.